Hi, thank you for joining me for this introductory session for the Restorative for Sleep course on mikesyogapodcast.com. What I'm going to do in this session is just show you some of the equipment that you can use that will help you to get the most out of the sessions. So let's just get started. Initially, the most useful thing to have is a blanket, and we're going to use lots of blankets for this. I'm going to give you a couple of options so that you can choose which is most appropriate for the type of practice that you want to do. If you're going to do this work on the floor, then if you've got a yoga mat like this, then that's perfect. If you haven't, don't worry. If you've got a nice kind of bath towel that feels kind of fluffy, then that's going to be perfect. What we're trying to do is replicate bed so that everything's going to be really, really comfortable. Or alternatively, for these restorative yoga for sleep sessions, you can actually do these sessions in bed. But if you're going to do them in bed, you're probably not going to have your kind of equipment kind of handy. So I'll give you some alternatives as we go. The most important thing for restorative yoga is to have a bolster. Now, this is a proper yoga bolster. You can get a couple of different types of yoga bolsters. So this is what you might call a circular or a tubular or even cylindrical, I suppose, bolster. The ones full of buckwheat are the best because they mold. You can mold yourself to them. So you can probably hear it kind of rustles a little bit when you move it about. So if you're looking for a bolster, get one that's full of buckwheat because it kind of molds to the body, and it just gives you a little bit of extra support. So these circular cylindrical bolsters are probably the most versatile of the bolsters that you can have. But an alternative style of bolster is one of these oblong ones. Now this particular one is foam filled. So it does lose its shape over time, but it doesn't really matter too much because you just work with what you've got, don't you? So this is good for kind of poses where, like the heart pose, where you're laying back, your legs are off the bolster, and your chest, at the back of your chest, is along the bolster. So this is really super comfortable, but it's not as versatile as the cylindrical bolster. So if you're going to buy a bolster, go for one of these cylindrical ones. And go for one with kind of a buckwheat filling. So that's your bolster. Now it doesn't matter if you don't have a bolster, because I'm going to show you how to make a bolster. So you make a bolster with blankets. If you're doing this in bed, and if you've got maybe a spare duvet or something, then that's going to be even better. But you just use whatever you've got. You can create a bolster by just folding up some pillows or just using pillows. So I've got another bath towel here, and I've just folded it in half and just kind of laying it along the floor like so. And then I've got just a duvet cover, so I'm going to lay that along that far edge. And then all we're going to do is we're going to, a bit like making a Swiss roll, we're going to just kind of fold it into a roll like this. So just make sure it's kind of relatively firm, and then you've got a bolster. Now this isn't very thick, but for some poses this is really nice. So you can use this in bed, but if you want it to be a little thicker, and you would want a thicker bolster for some of the poses, then you can just fold the blanket down the middle before you roll it into your sausage shape. It doesn't really matter which end you do first, so I'm just going to do this end first, and then we're just going to roll this up. And then it's quite a short bolster, but it doesn't matter. You can kind of use other bits, but you can see not that far away from the real thing. So a bolster like this can be really, really effective. So you can just use a bolster like so. So you can use that for underneath your knees. You can use it to elevate your chest. You can use it for your head. You can use it for underneath your shoulders for some of the poses. So a bolster that's kind of rolled up like this is going to come in really handy. If you've got anything like these, which are yoga blocks, then these will be really handy as well. If you haven't got yoga blocks, then you could always just use, you could just pile up some books and use those as blocks. So you just pile up maybe 4 or 5 books and you can kind of use those as blocks. If you have one of these, again, this is lovely. This is a yoga eye pillow. These are filled with lavender, and they're just really, they're really, really nice. So you just, obviously, if you're wearing glasses, you need to take your glasses off. But when you're laying down, you place it over your eyes, and it blocks out the light, and it just applies a little bit of weight to your eyes. It helps to quieten down the brain, and for restorative yoga for sleep, that's what we really want to do. If you don't have one of these eye pillows, then it's not a problem. What you really want to do is just to create darkness, because this practice works best when it's in a kind of a darkish room. So if you don't have a yoga pillow, you can just kind of get a flannel, obviously a dry flannel. No one would want to put a wet flannel over their face, would they? You just put a dry flannel, you just fold it up and just put it across your eyes. And then again, it's just a little gentle, it'll be a much gentler pressure over the eyes, but it will block out the light. And again, that is what you want. When you're practicing restorative yoga for sleep, it's really important to create an environment that you're going to feel really, really, really comfortable in. So that's why we use a blanket to lie on, so that we're kind of trying to replicate bed. You might also want you'll want kind of some extra blankets as well. So some blankets to help you to kind of you use it as props in some of the poses, but also you might want a blanket to cover yourself over with, because warmth is really, really important, because you can never be wholly comfortable unless you're completely warm. So wear warm clothes, wear socks, because you don't want your feet to become cold. Use a blanket to cover yourself with. Have another blanket handy to use to kind of prop yourself up. Have a yoga bolster, or kind of create one for yourself. Or if you're doing these poses in bed, then you can use your extra pillows or whatever to just to support your body. So switch off your devices. So obviously not the one that you're watching the video on, but switch off your devices, because you don't want to be disturbed. This is all about just zoning out of the day and just kind of preparing the brain for quietness. So switch off your devices. Try to be in a place where you're unlikely to be disturbed. Make sure that you're warm, and if you can, create a space that's going to be dark. If you can't create a space that's going to be dark, then that's when we use the eye pillows or the eye coverings to help you. So if you need to do this, maybe if you do night shifts or whatever, and you need to do this to help you to sleep kind of in the middle of the day, then use something to cover your eyes with. Okay, so that's pretty much all you're going to need. Very occasionally you might use a belt, but that is quite rare actually in this type of yoga. But you might want a belt. So this is a proper yoga belt, but you don't need to have a proper yoga belt. Just a belt of your dressing gown, or just a normal belt that you wear around your waist will be fine. So if you've got all of your gear ready, then you're pretty much ready to start the Restorative Yoga for Sleep course. Thank you for watching this video. If you've got any questions, you can email me at mike@mikesyogapodcast.com. Thanks very much. I hope you really enjoy these sessions, and I hope that they help you to get really good, sound and restful sleep.